Good morning, everyone. Wow. This is a day that a lot of people around the world are giving their condolences and, talking great things and good things about Madiba and Nelson Mandela. It's kind of a weird thing for me when someone dies who is this big. People have lots and lots of things good to say about the person. And as you listened, you could hear so many people, ordinary people, expressing great things about him. Like the cartoonist who said he did cartoons about him all the time. They were positive, and then at certain times it became negative, and one day he picked up his phone and someone said, just hold on for President Nelson Mandela, and he thought it was a joke, and then he heard the voice come on and said hello, and he still didn't believe he was actually speaking to President Nelson Mandela, but he was, and started to apologize for going negative on some of his cartoons. And Mandela just said, that's your job. So as we reflect, we just listen to some of the things, because he actually, in my opinion, was a comedian just watching everything about him. And the fact that he actually thought that, yes, he could make a good Bill Cosby. So, and if you notice, the people in South Africa, they're not crying and weeping and all that kind of stuff. They're basically celebrating his life, which is what we really should be doing when someone of this magnitude dies. So congratulations to all those people in South Africa who are dancing and singing and celebrating and, just realizing this was their father, as they called him. Yeah? And it's a day that gives you pause and makes you actually realize that it doesn't matter who you are, how powerful you are, how rich you are. When time comes for you to go, you go. And as Bishop Tutu said this morning, and the sun will rise again tomorrow. So yes, we wish that his soul will rest in peace, but there is so much to be thankful for him and his legacy. And as Tutu said, Archbishop Tutu said, lots of people are thinking that now that he's dead, South Africa, the Republic of South Africa, will go up in flames. And he says no, because that would be dishonoring the memory and the work and the suffering of Nelson Mandela. So as we mourn in our different ways, I saw a guy crying who is an author. There are lots of things being said about him, but a lot of things that we individually need to kind of take in. Reconciliation or revenge? Negotiating with your enemy while you're imprisoned by that enemy to get out of jail. And let's say prison. To be in prison for 27 years. You entered prison an angry man, member of the ANC. Initially you chose nonviolence. The ANC convinced you had to be violent and militant. And then you went back to nonviolence. But what a lesson we have to learn from this tall, elegant, smiling man. I remember the day so clearly when he did that long walk and that the gates were opened and him and his wife, Winnie Mandela, emerged. Everyone was glued to their television, not just where I was, but everywhere around the world, because everyone had the chant of freeing Mandela. But what an example he is. As I said before, he entered prison, an angry man, and he emerged as a man of humility, a man who forgave his captors, a man who took time to be nice to everyone in prison while he was there, and took time to learn the language of white South Africans, Afrikaans as they call it. And I truly wonder how many of us could actually do what Mandela has done. Even his birthday seems different. July 18, 1918. The 8th. And there are people who God placed on this earth that are truly extraordinary, and he's one of those people. Apartness is what it is called by South Africans. Apartheid. And I clearly remember yesterday when he died and the news broke, my friend and colleague at JBC, Hugh Croskill, used to say to me, why are you, it's not really apartheid, you know, it's really apartheid. And he and I had a couple of challenges about that word. But it truly means apartness. And then, you know, it makes me wonder, and it puts me in a place of wondering about the constant humiliation of black people in the Republic of South Africa, in the United States of America, and in different countries. Are black people responsible for their blackness? And should they suffer and be humiliated because of their blackness? It makes you question things and life as you reflect on the life. So here we are. We have a man who was an enemy of the state and then became the president of the state. And yes, I don't care what anyone says, that height and that presence that he carried, and the fact that he's always smiling. I don't know what he was doing behind bars. He must have been smiling all the time too, because he managed to charm everyone in there, it seemed. And it's so interesting how Nelson Mandela was not the only one that was jailed, that was put in prison as part of the ANC. But he was the one who emerged. A lawyer he was, yes. And what was his purpose? His purpose was a fight for freedom for people, for his people. They showed a clip of him talking about a young girl, little girl as he called her, who kept asking him, and how long were you in jail? And how long were you in prison? And he said, I can't remember. And he can't. And she said, you're a stupid old man. And he laughed. It seems like everyone felt like he was their father in South Africa. So what a day this is. Imagine having a funeral, a 10-day funeral is basically what he's having. That began with his body being taken away. And we'd be lying in state in the stadium, and all kind of stuff will be happening. So 10 days from now, I wonder how are they going to accommodate all the world leaders? I think they're probably going to have to ask some of them to come one day and some come the other day, because I can just see the security problems of all the leaders of the world who want to be there, to be part of the funeral for this great man, Madiba, Nelson Mandela. Do you also know that Nelson was not his name, you know? He had an African name that meant troublemaker. It's a teacher that gave him the name Nelson. He always broke fights and did bad things as a youngster and was indeed a troublemaker. So, troublemaker, enemy, president. Wow. How many of us could actually do what he did? Because, see, a lot of us, we think of retaliation and revenge instead of reconciliation. You know, the 3 R's: retaliation, revenge, or reconciliation. Those are the 3 R's that lots of us struggle with. And that's the reason I must say I am so pleased that my intention on this show, and the fact that I decided to gear the show towards love, because you see, love always wins over hate. It always triumphs. So the fact that I am asking you to love yourself every single day and be as proud as Nelson Mandela was, because they said even when he was in prison, because he came from a tribal royal family, he never considered himself to be less than any white South African. This is the Diana Wright Show. We're live, and it is Friday, the day that most of us love. I think Friday is the most beloved day on the planet because it's the end of your week at work. Yeah, some people do work on Saturdays and Sundays, but most people, for the most part, are out of work Friday evening. And yes, you can see it at the restaurants and the bars that they want to just release the tension of work. And that's the reason it's referred to as TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. I want to say a special shout out to Sheila. Thank you for reading my book. Thank you for watching my show. Thank you for your support. It's people like you who make the world a better place. So thank you. It's just interesting how he was from a tribal royal family and was brought up, you know, with all the trappings. But then, as an attorney, he decided that his purpose was to fight for his people, his black people. In this country of the Republic of South Africa, and the apartness, the apartheid, as Hugh Crosskill would have said. He's no longer with us either. But it's so incredible to think that yes, everyone has a day when they will pass away. None of us are here. We would all like to live as long as Abraham, and I would certainly want to be Sarah. But that's not promised. We thank you so much for joining us today from around the world and in the United States. I know that you're getting coverage from left, right, and center. And everyone has a piece. And Mr. Dellums, the former congressman who actually fought to keep sanctions alive against South Africa. And even when Nelson Mandela was still president, helped lead the charge to get the ANC off of the terrorist list. And even as Americans, Sharpton and the congresswoman from California and Mr. Dellums, of course, I saw him on television last night. As I called his name, Rachel Maddow had him there. You know, people who contributed to this effort. It was indeed a world effort to say free Mandela. It was a chant, you know. But it affects you in a way that gives reflection. But I think we really should learn a lesson from this tall, elegant, smiling man who always seems, even the day he came out of prison, he had a smile on his face. He looked like he was never in jail, never in prison at all. I remember so clearly. And as Winnie and himself held their hands up, and all the cameras were flashing and the crowds were gathering, and when he came out and he spoke, people, I'm sure if you had dropped a pin, you could have heard the silence wherever you were on that day. So what a day this is to celebrate the life of Nelson Mandela. Because we all have to go at some point. I'm sure President Obama is feeling a little sad that he really didn't get to have a relationship with this great man who influenced his life. But President Clinton, as you must have seen by now, they developed a friendship. And he said how kind Mandela was, that even when he was going through his morality scandal in the United States with Monica Lewinsky, Mandela was there saying, you can't discard your friends because of they have a moral problem. What a great man he was. So I just want to, just kind of look at some of the dates that I think are really, really important. February 11th, 1990. That's the day he was released from prison. And as he said, he was not a prophet, but a humble servant of the people. And as we think of his life today, we have to think of what's going on around the world. There's wicked weather in the United States, in the Midwest, and Europe is having their own share of wicked weather. Cold, icy weather. People are crashing left and right. So what are your thoughts about Mandela today? Do you really now believe that one person can actually change the world? Yes, South Africa still has a way to go, but they have come a far way. April 27th, 1994, the first vote and the first democratic election. Can you imagine at that age, was he 74 or 75 years old, he voted for the first time, and the people in South Africa got a chance to vote for him. And he ran against the man who gave him freedom. Yeah. F.W. de Klerk, remember him? He was the man who won after Botha and decided to free Mandela. And imagine Mandela. Just imagine for a minute. The state, your government, has put you in jail for 27 years. And you really didn't do anything because, as he said to a young child who asked him, why is he in jail, and he didn't steal anything? And he said, yes, I did steal something. I stole the freedom for my people. So you know that he was definitely a comedian. He was he seemed like he truly enjoyed the life he had when he came out of prison. And I was very sad when himself and Winnie Mandela got a divorce. I was truly affected by that because I thought she was out there, fighting the good fight. And then here she was, not there anymore. But then, there were other issues going on, and we got over that. And if you notice, all of the coverage yesterday was showing Winnie Mandela when they got married, everything coming up. It's only today that I saw his current wife being featured. And then you think of him having that great speech at the concert that they had to celebrate his 90th birthday, which is that 4664 event on June 27, 2008, when he was 90, and he gave that speech as they gave him a tribute to it for his birthday. Wow. He made so many good speeches. The next date I want to think about is May 10th, 1994. Inauguration as President of the Republic of South Africa. Defeating the man that set him free. Is this an incredible life or what? And I guess that's the reason when you're looking at someone else's life and you want to have that life, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to take the suffering portion of that person's life along with the celebrated part, the rewarding part, the part that he seemed to have enjoyed so much? And how many politicians in Africa have you noticed, have you seen, that were willing to give up power after one term? I haven't seen any. And maybe our Congress here should give up power because they're doing nothing. They should be learning about negotiating. They think Obama is their enemy, so they should learn from Mandela how to negotiate with your enemy. Speaker Boehner, maybe you should. Instead of talking about you went on the website and you got your health care and it's going to cost you more, why are you even on the website anyway? You don't need to be looking for any insurance, do you? This is all drama. And I think each and every one of us today, especially the United States of America, our Congress, led by Speaker Boehner, and some of our senators who are such hating, violent presence, should take a page from Nelson Mandela's book, who being in prison made him understand that you don't have to humiliate the other person in order to get what you want. And you don't have to hate President Barack Obama to know that what you're doing is hurting the American people, the same people who put you in office. So what a day this is. As we take a break and we say thank you so much for joining us this day on the Diana Wright Show, as we reflect on the life of this great man with such a big legacy, Nelson Mandela, and as they call him, Madiba, at home. Back in a moment. Hello everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, how rich you are, how poor you are. But there has to be a point in your life, and you will come to that point, where you have to take someone you love to the hospital. But have you ever considered that you could take that loved one, in my case, my only child, to the hospital in a normal state, and then you leave 5 months later, brain damaged, in a wheelchair, without your senses? This is my true story, Deadly Negligence, the book, available on Amazon and at my website dianawrighttv.webs.com. I'm asking you today to get a copy. Support my story. Let us get this out there, because this story will captivate you. It will shock you. It will give you hope. It will increase your faith and make you believe in miracles again. Thank you for picking up your copy today. And just in case you know Oprah Winfrey or Tyler Perry or Mr. Levinson, let them know this is worth a movie. Thank you. Get your copy today. We're back, and this is the Diana Wright Show Live. We thank you so much for joining us today from around the world and in the United States, the day after the death of Nelson Mandela. July 1918. Wow. He was 95 years old. I wonder how many of us really think we're going to live until we become 95. Tall, elegant, and confident, they said he was. A very confident man, a very shrewd politician, a great negotiator. Maybe we should have hired him when he was dancing around to come and teach our politicians how to negotiate, even with your enemies, and win. You can actually win, yeah. So maybe the Republicans really need to learn something from that. Okay, let's see. 1993, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah. June 16th, 1999, that's the date he stepped down as president. And I kind of like what he said when he gave up power. Don't call me, I'll call you. A comedian, the first black president of the Republic of South Africa, gave up power after one term in office. After being in prison for 27 years, you think he would have stayed there and relished in the power? But then I kind of think about the fact that in 1990, when they celebrated in 2008, when they celebrated his 90th birthday, I should say, he seemed so strong when he was at that concert, that 46664 concert. And then his health just seemed to have gone down the drain. But you do know that his respiratory problems was from he was in prison and got TB. Just like when you go to the hospital here, you are likely to get all kind of bacteria. Like the famous one they call C. diff. Yeah. And seemed like he just continued to have a struggle with that. But he seemed to have enjoyed life. Every time you saw him, he was smiling. He had an ability to seduce people. Because I'm sure he must have seduced the clerk to get him out of prison, knowing that he was this angry black man who went in. But my golly, it seems like when you are alone, in solitaire, in solitude, you certainly have time to think, reflect, and my golly, you make better decisions. So that should be another lesson for lots of us. don't want to be in the crowd and in the action all the time, and you're at every party and you're at every occasion and you're doing all these things. Maybe sometimes you just need to get a quiet moment. And whether you want to use that quiet moment to talk to God or talk to yourself or just reflect, you normally emerge a better person with more clarity of mind. No bitterness, no anger, no revenge. Those are his words. He always says there's more work to be done. And that is what he wants, freedom for all. That was part of his speech at that concert, that 4666. I don't know why they came up with those numbers, but I'm sure we'll figure it out eventually. His life was just very public. As long as you've ever heard the name Mandela, he's been a public persona. So what a public life. But today we can safely say that that bright light has gone out. But we hope, and I certainly hope, that after the funeral is finished and everything, everyone in South Africa continue on a right path to honor his memory. No violence, no hate, no fighting against white people. Just continue the journey that we all know. Who knew that he could control so many people who were mad with the government in South Africa? And when he came out of prison, he convinced them, he seduced them into believing that non-violence is the way to go. And they listened. So I hope that the words that are flying around now about, I even heard it from Archbishop Tutu, that people are saying that South Africa is going to go up in flames now that he's dead. What a dishonor that would be to his memory and all his suffering. So we certainly hope that that will not happen. Okay, so you also know that the ANC was a terrorist group, including Mandela, right? I'm sure you know that. You must have heard by now that that was lifted by the United States. I didn't even know that it was a terrorist group until yesterday. Seriously. I really didn't. Did you know that? This is the Diana Wright Show Live. We thank you so much for joining us today on this day of celebration of the life of Nelson Mandela. 95 years old. What a big number. The comedian, whoever he is. We just hope that, nothing bad happens in South Africa now, so people can kind of rejoice and say, I told you so. So that is, to me, what I just went through there about the man, this tall, elegant, confident man who actually came from a tribal royal family. He certainly behaved that way. And I certainly hope that our government, especially our Congress, and especially people in the Senate like Senator Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, they will learn negotiating with the enemy and not humiliating your opponent. I see that Martin Beshear from MSNBC has resigned. He resigned yesterday because he said and made some remarks about Sarah Palin. At first I think he apologized, and then you didn't see him for a while, and then he came back, and then you didn't see him for a while, and then he resigned yesterday. But that gave me pause and wondering about all the things that Sarah Palin has said about President Barack Hussein Obama. She should resign and be quiet for a while to, and should not be earning any money off of the American people for her disrespect. And the way she has told so many lies about President Obama and said so many disparaging things about him. And when you watch her speak about President Obama, her face shows such anger and disrespect. But only Alec Baldwin, I guess, was brave enough to come up and defend Martin Bashir. I'm going to miss him because I truly loved Martin Bashir, and the fact that he, he played, I was wondering, whoa, my gosh, he knew every reggae song that seemed to have been made. And he would do his outtake and his intake on his program was always something that you haven't heard in ages. So I'm going to miss Martin Bashir at that 4 o'clock hour. Yes, a lot of people are upset about the fact that he's the one who outed all those things and made Michael Jackson say things that people didn't think he wanted to say. But I don't think he told Michael Jackson what to say. Michael Jackson is a grown man and was interviewed. I would think he was a good journalist to pull things out of him that no one else had been able to do. So yes, Mr. Bashir, you will be missed. If only by me. Okay, we're going to take another break and come back in just a moment. This is the Diana Wright Show Live, and we thank you so much for joining us today from around the world and in the United States. Back in just a moment. Hello everyone, this is a season of giving, and I'm asking you to consider one of your gifts to be Deadly Negligence, written by yours truly, Diana Wright. A story that will give you hope, make you mad, shock you sometimes, but is bound to increase your faith and make you believe in miracles again. So please, give Deadly Negligence as a gift, as the gifting season begins to heat up. I am depending on you to do this for me. Thank you so much, and be the proud person to give a gift of the book Deadly Negligence. It's available on Amazon.com and on my website dianawrighttv.webs.com. Thank you so much for my viewers around the world and in the United States. Be blessed. Okay, we're back. This is the Diana Wright Show. We do it live from 10:30 to 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And you can check us out and check into my web store at dianawrighttv.webs.com. And we are looking for you to share and tell everyone about the show, about the book Deadly Negligence, and about our intention. And International I Love Me Day, April 30th. 2014, that will be the second year, and I'm going to drive this crusade because you see that love always triumphs over hate. So what a great thing it would be if we all learned to love ourselves the way Nelson Mandela obviously seemed to have loved himself. He was so confident and, so seductive, because when you love yourself, you can actually seduce others to do the same thing. So we are trying to seduce you to love who you are this day and be confident about it. But one of the things I don't want you to do is lie. Because you see, the Affordable Care Act, in the desperation of the Republicans to make it look bad, they even found a father from Suffolk in New York who actually was on Fox and in the newspaper in New York saying that, Obamacare doesn't cover toddlers. How much of a lie? And how long did he think it would take journalists to find out that that was indeed a lie, when he himself caused the problem by lying that he had 3 children instead of 4? And the clerical problem was corrected before he started even going on Fox News. Didn't they learn anything from Laura Logan, who actually knew about the whole Benghazi lie and still aired it? Who is now on suspension, I think, or leave of absence, or whatever they call it. Interesting. When people decide to make up stories, they really and truly need to know that the American press, as much as we might hate the fact that they want to know everything, they will hunt you down and find out the truth to your lie. But my golly, it didn't even take them a day to figure this one out. So he lied about the fact that he had 3 children instead of 4. He doesn't know how many children he has, and then he wants to blame President Obama, talking about the aid Obamacare hates toddlers. Well, we hate liars too. Wow. He doesn't even know how many children he has, and he has the nerve to go on Fox News and the New York Post and tell a lie like that to try to discredit the Affordable Care Act. This is not a good thing. I wonder how long, and then of course we know that he's a Republican from Nassau County who ran as a Republican and lost for some office that he ran for. And I'm just wondering, how long are the Republicans going to insist on making up things about the law? How can you have a senator in Mitch McConnell from Kentucky and a Governor Beshear saying 2 different things? Governor Beshear lives in Kentucky. McConnell doesn't really live there. He's from there representing the people. And he's talking about people don't want the Affordable Care Act? Who on earth in their right mind in a poor place like Kentucky, and Kentuckians have the worst health history, and they're going to refuse to get coverage to go to the doctor? Does Mitch McConnell actually think that we're stupid? Learn some lessons from Nelson Mandela. Humility, honesty, and please. You don't have to dehumanize the other person to win. What do we need to put these guys in the Congress and some of the senators? We need to put them in prison, in a cell, without running water or anything, so they can think and come out to be better men and women? Because some of the women are crazy too, you know, in the Tea Party and the whole Republican Party thing. Wow. I wonder what would happen as we move now to another story. We go to Canada, but we're going to parallel it with the United States. So in Canada, this woman who couldn't even find her $50 million jackpot lottery ticket was hunted down by the Lottery Commission in Canada just to make sure she got her prize. What a wonderful thing. Because here, I think if you pass the date to where it expired, the money just goes back in the pot. They use the security camera to track the woman down. The security camera in the store that she bought the ticket at. She said, I can't even find the ticket. And they used her passport or something to identify whatever. Because they knew she was the person who bought the ticket. And that's the reason I contrast that with what will be done here. And then I look at Mayor Ford, who's just making a crazy person of himself on television. A drunken stupor, as he called himself. My, if we learn from Mandela, and we all have humility and forgiveness. Forgiveness, I think, is just the biggest thing about Mandela. He was able to forgive his enemies and work with his enemies, negotiate with his enemies for his freedom. Hence, the freedom of the entire South Africa. Just think of that. How powerful that is. And the fact that you can use love instead of hate, and jealousy, and envy. What if he came out of jail and he just said to all them people waiting for him, 100,000 strong and more, let's go fight? Can you imagine what would have happened if he had listened to the ANC also? Because the ANC was still pretty angry, even after he was out of prison. And lots of them also came out. Some came out before him, some came out after him. But what if he chose the road of revenge and retaliation instead of the road of reconciliation? Can you imagine the bloodbath that would have taken place in South Africa? So we need to learn a lot from this great man that has died. We truly need to learn from him today. Not just mourn his death and say, oh, he was a nice guy and whatever. We need to learn from him, because it's important to learn and to take action. And yes, it doesn't matter what it is that's bugging you or what you think you can achieve as one person. Just think of Mandela. Think of President Obama. There's always, just think of Pope Francis too. And the joke that Archbishop Tutu told when he said that he went to visit him and have lunch with him, and when he was ready to leave, Mandela kept saying, driver, driver. And Tutu said, I don't have a driver. I drove myself from Soweto to your house. He made no response until weeks later. Tutu said he called him and he said to him, I found so and so and so who is willing to pay for your driver. Will you accept that? Hence, he's always thinking about others, doing things for others, because he in his heart believed that Archbishop Desmond Tutu deserved to have a driver. And yes, he should. So he was always thinking about doing something for others. He suffered to free his people. According to him, he stole their freedom for them. So yes, there's lots to learn from Nelson Mandela. I'm going to talk about Nigella from Nigella Bites, who is a sexy, good-looking, pretty, you might say, person on Food Network. Now she's on a whole lot of other things. But my golly, her life has spun out of control just by one picture of her husband actually trying to choke her at a restaurant in public. But now we're hearing all kinds of things, and she has now apologized for her drug use of cocaine and marijuana. But she said she used the cocaine because her marriage to Saatchi was in such horrible state. She was unhappy and in turmoil. And as he's tried to destroy her, she turned to cocaine. According to her, she's no longer doing that, and she apologized for going that route. Because we all have pain, we all have suffering, but the road of drugs is the wrong road. The road of alcohol is the wrong road. The road of taking up smoking cigarettes, wrong road. So as we take another break and come back to you in just a moment, we welcome you to the Diana Wright Show Live, and we thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back in just a moment. Remember, April 30th, 2014 is International I Love Me Day. I want you to start thinking about what will you do special for you on that day. Share it with me on Facebook and Twitter. And join the conversation on the Diana Wright Show, Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. We are live. The number to call, 561-228-1921. That's 561-228-1921. Join the conversation. Like us on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. Okay, we are back, and this is the Diana Wright Show live online, dianawrighttv.webs.com. We're on Ustream for those of you who are asking the question. Yes, and we do this Monday through Friday at 10:30 to 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then you can get the show on YouTube in a few hours, and then you can get it on my website later on in the evening. So we hope that you will spread the word, tell a friend, and keep watching. So your cell phone, everyone's cell phone is now being tracked by the NSA. Is that news to you? That's not news to me. Aren't you curious? Because I've been curious for years. How is it that when I go anyplace else, my phone knows where I am? So if your phone knows where you are, someone has to be tracking you, and it's not just Google. Google is the front that makes you, do all the Earth this and whatever they do. And if Google Earth can let people find your house, why are you so shocked that your phone is being tracked by the NSA? They say they're not doing anything with it. We have to just take them at their word. And if you're having conversations of regular day and whatever, what do you care? They'll just listen in and be bored more than likely. But if you're doing something wrong, then you need to shudder because they will come get you. Okay, all right. I found something very interesting yesterday. If you are disabled, this is really a wow factor for me. If you are disabled, you can still become a model. There's this organization that's called Pro Infirmis that has mannequins of disabled people, physically disabled. I mean, it's just incredible. You need to go online and watch it. It's put on by Pro Infirmis. I just thought I'd let you know about that because I thought it was so touching to see all these physically disabled people being models and being photographed. And you could see the joy on their faces as they realize that, yes, even though I'm disabled, I can be a model. Because there's no one in life that is perfect, actually. And beautiful really does not mean you're perfect. Because all the people you see on the magazines and on television, and they look so nice, and let them take off the makeup and you meet them in a dark alley and see what happens. So really and truly though, you should check this out. It's called Pro Infirmis, and it's created a series of mannequins based on real people with physical disabilities. The project title is called Because Was Is Perfect? Very interesting. Get closer. Check them out. It's a good thing. Pro Infirmis. And see how blessed you are to be able-bodied and to have your self-confidence and your self-esteem without being dismantled in your body and in your space, without legs, without arms in some cases, twisted in some cases. You will enjoy watching this. So I ask you to do that. I wanted to also just take a look at this because, yes, we want to celebrate the life of Nelson Mandela, but we also need to think about other things that are affecting our daily lives, like seatbelts. Anyone? Should there be seatbelts on a train just like you have seatbelts on a plane? Should they be shoulder? Should they be lap? And I always wondered why there are no seatbelts in school buses. But I'm told that all the new school buses will have seatbelts. But it's going to cost so much to outfit all the other ones, like $40,000 per bus, to fit them with seatbelts now, so they can't do that. So they're going back. And if you are, any new school buses that are being built will have seatbelts as of now. Yeah? So, and another thing, a lot of people are putting up Christmas trees and decorations and all that kind of stuff. I just want to take a little moment to warn you about fire. Because, one little thing with that tree and it catches a fire, your house is burned down. You don't want that. So you got to be careful. If you have a live tree, you need to make sure it's moist at the root in that little thing that you put it in. And just some caution for the Christmas holiday. I also want to take a little time to just say a special shout out to all the lonely people. I always do that on every radio show I have, or anything I've done in the past. Because we must be mindful that there are some people who have no family, some don't have friends, some are just ill, some are disabled and locked away in rooms. I just want to ask you to think of those people as you celebrate this holiday, because after Thanksgiving we have to just admit that it's a celebration time for most people. But for some people, it's a sad time because they either lost their loved one, and I really feel bad for people, especially who lost their loved ones at Thanksgiving Day or Christmas, because those holidays then become just a sad time for you for the rest of your life. So I really want to reach out to you and hope that you can find some joy, some happiness, just to know that you're alive, and the person that you mourn would want you to be happy, would want you not to be sad all the time. So take some time and be joyful. Think of the joyful moments that you had with that person that you mourn. Because believe me, they don't want you to stay sad or be unhappy. And it's important for you to do that. Lots more stories to cover, but it's actually almost time to go. So I'm going to go. I would love to stay with you forever and give you some more important things about Mandela, but I'm sure you'll find that on CNN and MSNBC and ABC and CBS and all those other channels. So it's a solemn day, but it's a day to celebrate our 95 years of life, and I'm sure that's what he would want you to do. He would not want anyone to be crying and be sad, because he lived a full life. And just look at his range. Enemy of the state, president of the state. Angry, emerging with humility, forgiveness, love, reconciliation, and able. This is really powerful, to negotiate with his enemy while he is in prison for his freedom, and hence the freedom of his people of South Africa. Thank you so much for joining me today. Wherever you go to worship this weekend, I hope you will go just to worship God, just to thank God. Don't go with any ulterior motives to try to give your business card out, to sell a product, to do some network marketing, nothing, to show off your clothes or anything else. Just go to worship. And whether it's Saturday or Sunday, go with your whole heart. Try to release whatever hate or pain or jealousy or envy that you have in your heart, and open it up to love, and see what God will do. I thank you so much for being on this journey with me this week. As I thank you from around the world and in the United States, wherever you are and watching this, blessings to you. And if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it was never yours. Always remember the 3 magic words that will give you confidence and boost your self-esteem, looking in the mirror and saying the magic words, I love me. Have a blessed day.